Welcome to the Colosseum board game prototype. This is an action RPG dice rolling game with sci-fi and fantasy themes. In this game, players play as combatants pitted against various enemies and obstacles in a high-tech Colosseum to entertain the crowd. In a world that blends science and magic, the Colosseum is able to simulate various environments and enemies for the combatants. Players will need to work together and use a combination of wits and skill in order to survive the challenge and earn their freedom. The game is made for 2 up to 4 players and has an expected playtime of 1 up to 2 hours. To understand the game better, let us first look at its components. First, we have the map. This project will have 3 maps where player and enemy tokens can be placed on. The map represents positioning and movement. The map has a grid as the block has a grid and a block is its unit of measurement. Tokens should be placed on a block. There are various objects and terrains on the map indicated by symbols, such as the player and enemy spawn points, covers, both full and partial, difficult terrains, healing fountains, and reboot buttons. Next, there's the character board. It displays information tied to the character each player's play as. It includes a red health bar with a slider on the top, information about base stats and defense, current ability score, and a space to put skill cards that have been unlocked. It also includes action, bonus action, and movement tracker on the top right corner. Then we have the skill cards. It represents the skill each character has unlocked throughout the game. Each character has 4 skill slots: a passive skill, a primary skill, a utility skill, and an ultimate. Skills with cooldowns will have cooldown counter at the back. After that, we have tokens. There are character tokens to represent the player characters on the map, and enemy tokens that does the same thing as the player tokens, but for enemies. Then we have turn tokens to track action, bonus action, and movement on player's turn. It is placed on the top right corner, the character board. Now, if you have used an action or a bonus action or movement, you flip the token indicating that it has been used. Finally, we have number tokens that track changing numbers such as our defense and ability scores. Then we have buff cards. Buff cards are obtained as each character levels up and it enhances a character. Each character have their own unique set of buff cards that they can acquire. Next, we have encounter cards that determine what enemies are going to be fought in a stage, and enemy cards that dictates how an enemy will spend their turn upon activation. On top of that, we also have boss card that determines what a boss enemy does on their turn. Each boss and mini-boss has a unique deck. Finally, we have the dice that determines the result of attacks and skills in combat. Now, let us simulate a game in order to understand how to play it. First, each player must choose a character to play as. Each player must choose a different character to play as. For this example, we will be choosing the Berserker. Then, we will calculate the character's max hit points and defense using the provided formula. For the Berserker, his max hit points will be 15, and his defense will also be 15. Then we'll place the number tokens on our defense and ability score section of the character board based on your character's base stat. After that, place the action, bonus action, and movement tokens on the top right corner. And finally, check the character leveling table to see what feature are unlocked for your character in the first level. And then we take the appropriate skill cards. The Berserker will be getting the skill Cybernetic Armor and Rage. Now to set up the stage. First, we'll shuffle the stage board and reveal a map. Next, we shuffle an encounter card for that stage. Reveal the top and spawn the appropriate enemies. To spawn enemies, search for their card and calculate their starting health based on the description. This means that the direwolf has 24 HP and the Draugr archer has 30. Then randomly put the appropriate enemy tokens on any available enemy spawn points on the map. Lastly, set up the players for the stage. Place the player tokens on the available. Place the player's tokens on the available player spawn points and roll initiative. To roll initiative, roll an roll a dexterity ability check by rolling a d20. Let's say our berserker rolls a 19 and will be accompanied by a healer, and let's say the healer rolls a 14. Then the players add their dexterity modifier, and they also add their proficiency on top of that if they're proficient. Both of these characters are not proficient in dexterity checks, so you don't need to add the proficiency modifier. Finally, we put down the character tokens and the player spawn points, and the stage can begin. Now, the berserker rolled first, and he rolled is going first because he rolls the highest initiative. And during his turn, the berserker is going to use his movement to move here. The berserker can move up to 6 blocks per turn. Different characters have different movement speeds. Since he can't reach an enemy, he is going to end his turn. Now begins the enemy phase. Enemies are activated starting from the one with the highest max HP to the lowest. That means um, the dire wolf gets activated first. Now, it will take its turn based on the description card. It will move towards the berserker since he is the closest player. However, the wolf's movement speed is only 8 blocks per turn and can't reach the berserker, so now it ends its turn. Next, the Draugr Archer will be activated. His target will be the most recently activated player, which is the berserker. He will move until the distance between him and the target is 12 blocks away, or until just before line of sight is broken. That way, he can still take his action to shoot his arrow. Since the accuracy, since it is in range and still has line of sight, he is going to use his attack to shoot at the berserker. The attack has 14 accuracy and deals 6 physical damage. Now, the accuracy is only 14, but the berserker's defense is 15. That means that the attack doesn't go through his defense because, but since it's still higher, the accuracy is still higher than half of the defense, rounded down. This means that it's going to be 7. It's still higher than 7, 14. That means that the attack does not completely miss, but is still reduced by the berserker's defense. How much is it reduced by? It's reduced by the difference between the accuracy and the defense. In this case, it's a 1. That means that the berserker will take 5 points of damage, and he will subtract his health accordingly. His hit points, sorry. Next up is our healer's turn. She is going to move into a half cover, and then she's going to shoot at the direwolf. To do so, she has to roll an accuracy check and roll a d20 and add her dex and proficiency. Let's say she rolls an 11. Her dex is 2 and her proficiency is also 2. That means her attack becomes 15. 15 just so happens to be exactly the direwolf's defense. That means the attack pierces the direwolf's defense completely and deals the maximum amount of damage. The healer can now roll her damage, which is a d8 plus her wisdom. Her wisdom is 4, and her damage die is d8. Now let's say the total of this damage is 11. That means that the direwolf suffers 11 points of damage and its hit points is reduced. Now we go back to the enemy phase. The wolf will close in on the berserker and attack using its bite. It's going to be 14 accuracy and 4 physical damage, but since the calculations with the defense, the attack's damage is reduced into 3. Now, the Draugr Archer. The Archer will take its shot at the most recently activated player, which is now it becomes the healer. It's going to shoot with its longbow to the healer for 14 accuracy and 6 physical damage. But since the healer is occupying A half cover. That means that the attack is at a disadvantage. Now, what does this mean? This means that his accuracy is halved into 7. Since 7 is not greater than half of the healer's defense, which is 14, that means that the attack misses completely. Now, the first round is finished and we go back to the top of the initiative list. The Berserker is going to use his bonus action to Rage. This gives him resistance from physical damage for 3 turns, which means he only receives half of any incoming physical damage. Then he's going to attack the Direwolf. First, he makes an accuracy check like the healer. Let's assume he hits. Then he's going to roll his damage, and let's say he deals a total of 15 points of damage. This kills the Direwolf and removes it from the fight. The battle goes on until all enemies are defeated or all players are defeated. If the enemies are defeated, the players can move to the next stage. Once they have completed all 5 stages, they will win the game. Thank you.